Now we see here testosterone total. Dun, 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 dun. Drum roll, please.
Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh and I Live Things. And today I'm going to be talking about my blood work, reviewing why I am no longer natty. Just kidding, I'm natty. So I am of the mentality that it is very important to get constant blood work done. Even if you're not taking PEDs or taking some types of medication that may alter your blood work, I think it's good to at least get a baseline done, meaning go in and getting a very comprehensive blood screening done just to get a general idea of how you are health-wise. Maybe you need to start a new diet, so you want to know what your base level is. Maybe you have already started a new diet, so you want to see if you're deficient in any micronutrients. Maybe you have a family history of thyroid disorders, so you want to get a thyroid panel done. Or maybe you're about to start injecting testosterone right into your butthole. In all of these cases, you need to figure out what is a good baseline of general health. Now, I'm closing in on the end of my bulk. This is about as big as I will get, probably, meaning my blood shouldn't get any worse than this, and they should only improve whenever I start cutting again and lose some extra weight. I have Crohn's disease, and you should check out my Crohn's and bodybuilding video if you haven't seen it yet. And right now I am extremely healthy. So again, this is about the best my blood should be compared to me being really sick. So all in all, this is a pretty good time to get my blood checked out. Now, this is a pretty comprehensive panel, though I did not get thyroid tested and I did not get free testosterone or sex hormone binding globulin tested. I am getting those done in about a week, so I will have a little addendum video to add on top of this. Now, I do have some other blood work to compare this against, which was just a very, very basic blood test done when I was on Accutane. It can be pretty rough on your liver, so they make you do some blood work while you're on it. So for any actual test I have a comparison for, I will bring it up. Along the way, I will be explaining some of these blood markers so you get a better idea of what these things actually do in your body. Anyways, let's get on with it. Okay, first things first, I got my testing done through Quest Diagnostics, and I ordered it through private med labs, and I used the r/steroids wiki code, which is literally just wiki, to get massive savings. This entire test cost me about $100 when using their code. They do not get a kickback from it, and they try to promote it so people can get some pre-steroid cycle blood work done. And that is the package I went with just because it ended up being the cheapest. I'll have links to all of these in the description if you want to get some blood work done yourself. If you need help analyzing it, give me a call. Hit me up on the Discord. So for starters here, cholesterol total. Reference range is less than 200 milligrams per deciliter. That's the DL, deciliter. And I got a 146. Now comparing that to my old blood work where I got a 169, and that's with me gaining about 20 pounds since that blood work was done. So that is awesome. That is great that it went down that much. I don't even know why. Probably because I started focusing more on cardio, but I don't do intense cardio at all. About 20 minutes whenever I go in the gym of zone 2 cardio. So that's great. Now my triglycerides, I got a 95 with a reference range of less than 150. My old one was 62. So my triglycerides have gone up, but they are still well under the range. That is great. I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. Now my HDL cholesterol. For those that don't know, HDL is considered the good cholesterol. There is some debate about that, but for most people, there isn't really one. HDL is considered very good. Higher amounts of it pretty much directly show less cardiovascular disease as you get older, and mine was a 38. Now, the reference range should be greater than 40, and from my blood work a couple months ago, I had a 41. Now, I'm assuming that this has a lot to do with me not being able to eat that much fiber because of my Crohn's disease, and so me gaining weight just exacerbated the issue. So I really have to start focusing more on my cardio and trying to get more foods in, but I have a hard time digesting them, so we'll kind of have to play this one by ear. But in direct opposition to this, your LDL, or my quote-unquote bad cholesterol, was an 89. And as long as that is under 100, you are doing great. Now, my old LDL was 116, so not that high, but much higher than I would like it to be. So my LDL coming down with my HDL barely coming down is great, especially with total cholesterol going down. I'm very, very happy with that. Now, here's my cholesterol and then HDL cholesterol ratio, and I have a 3.8. That is perfect. And then you see here, a ratio of less than 3.5 is highly desirable. I'm right on the edge there. So that's great. I'm doing all right. Now, non-HDL cholesterol was a 108. I want to be under 130. And so that is perfect. Overall, my lipid panel is pretty good. So now we're moving on to the CMP, the comprehensive metabolic panel. Look at this boy. Come on. Okay, now fasting glucose at an 86. That is perfect. That means I'm not really insulin resistant, which I've been in a bulk for quite a long time, so I was really worried about that. I had to fast for 12 hours in order to get this done. Now, my test was at 7:30 in the morning. That's very important because that's when the best time to test your testosterone is. So I had to start fasting at 7:30 at night the day before. Ruined my dinner plans, but that's fine. The lower this number is, the better. That means you're more insulin sensitive. I'm pretty much right in the middle of the range, which for being on a bulk this long is awesome. Now, my urea nitrogen is 15 of a reference range from 7 to 15. BUN is literally for blood urea nitrogen. It's a waste product. Basically, if that's really, really out of the reference range, you could be having some liver issues, but I seem to be doing great. Now, my creatinine is a 1.34, and that is out of reference range. This makes complete sense. As when you read from here, creatinine is derived from muscles and released into the blood, is removed from the body by the kidneys. When the creatinine level is elevated, a decrease in kidney function is suggested. Now, this does not mean that if you have an out of reference range creatinine, that your kidneys are bunk. What this means is people with kidney failure often have a higher creatinine level. It is a correlation, not a causation. I exercise, and if you exercise, your creatinine is raised. I take creatine. If you consume creatine, your creatinine is raised. If you eat a high protein diet, your creatinine is raised. If this is a little bit out of reference range, but your kidney and liver seems to be doing great on all other fronts, it's really not something to be concerned about. Lifters in general have elevated levels of creatinine. So this is not a concern. Ignore the big red. Now, my EGFR was 75. My nitrogen to creatinine ratio was 11. That's getting close to the lower end, but that's perfect. My sodium was 140. That's great. As you can see here, I'm pretty much right in the middle of the reference range for all of these, which is exactly what you want. Like for sodium, it's hard to read here because I'm so zoomed in, but it goes up to 146 nanomoles per liter. I'm at 140. I consume a lot of salt, close to about maybe 3 to 4 grams a day, depending on if it's a training day or not, because I eat 1 gram alone for pre and post workout for sodium. So that means I'm not very salt sensitive whatsoever, which is a great thing. Some people are. My albumin here is a 4.3, and for my old test, I was a 4.6, so that's gone down a little bit, but not a problem. I was closer to the higher end earlier, so that's great. Protein total, I'm at 6.9, and beforehand it was a 7.6, so getting close to outside the reference range. Albumin is really interesting. I'm sure you've heard of total testosterone and free testosterone, but there's also something known as bioavailable testosterone. So total testosterone is the total amount of testosterone in your body. Your free testosterone is the testosterone that is not bound to anything else. It can be bound to 2 things, albumin and SHBG, or sex hormone binding globulin. So total testosterone is your free testosterone plus albumin bound plus SHBG bound. Just your albumin bound is considered bioavailable testosterone. Kind of a weird term, but you don't want that to be massively high. You don't want that to be massively low. So I am perfect there. My albumin to globulin ratio is a 1.7, and my old AG ratio was 1.5. So it's gone up a little bit. Not really an issue there. You have your bilirubin, which is 0.6, pretty much right in the middle of the reference range. Perfect. Bilirubin is the main pigment in bile and a major product of normal red cell breakdown. It's helpful in evaluating liver function, various anemias, and in evaluating jaundice, yellowing of the skin. Bilirubin is what makes the bile have that yellow tint. So if you've ever seen someone who is jaundiced, that is why they have that yellow kind of hue to them. They are literally building up more of something that has that yellow hue. Now, alkaline phosphatase, I'm at 69. That is perfect. The enzyme found primarily in the bone and the liver. Elevated levels may indicate the presence of bone or liver disorders. It is commonly increased when the bile duct is blocked, which may be caused by gallstones. And now we have here AST and ALT. These are the main liver enzymes that you're looking at when you're trying to assess liver function or if you have damaged it. So someone that's abusing, say, oral steroids should be very, very cognizant of these numbers, because they can get massively out of the reference range very quickly. A lot of people who use steroids tend not to worry about these numbers too much until they get in the triple digits. So me being at 12 and 14 is beautiful, especially after being on Accutane, which, can have a lot of issues. Directly after Accutane, my AST and ALT were 24 and 18 respectively. So this was doubled, and this was a little bit higher. Still well within reference range, but the fact that those have gone down are great. I have a perfectly functioning liver. I know you're all happy to hear that. So moving on to the next section, CBC, which is a complete blood count. So my white blood cell count is 7.5, right in the middle of the reference range. Red blood cell count, 5.47, again, right in there. Hopefully you all know what white and red blood cells are. I probably don't have to explain that much. As you can see, my hematocrit is getting pretty high here. This screening measures how much your blood is made out of red blood cells. A hematocrit measurement is useful in identifying anemia, the presence of liver disease, bleeding disorders, and red cell production within the circulatory system. Hematocrit increases with altitude adaptation or dehydration. I was admittedly pretty dehydrated during this test. That is only my fault. I completely forgot what day the test was, so I wasn't just pounding water the day before like you probably should for blood work. But that's okay. Still well within reference range. Not a problem there whatsoever. My MCV here was 87. Now on my blood work before, this was a 102. So this has gone down, which is great. That means I maybe fixed a vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency. I haven't been supplementing with it, so, you know, that's just good. Just general health markers all going down. And then your RDW, which is red cell distribution width. It's a calculation of the variation in the size of your red blood cells. So for all of these, I am in a perfect little middle ground. Nothing really to be too concerned about. Now, we get over here to the sites and the fills, and these are more specific readings of your white blood cells. Now, as you can see here, my eosinophils are pretty damn high. The reference range here is 15 to 500 cells per microliter. I'm at 810. Now, we have to remember, I have an autoimmune disease. I have Crohn's disease, a form of inflammatory bowel disorder. So this being out of range is really not that concerning or even surprising. Are part of the immune system's response to infection, including from parasites, eosinophils, along with basophils and mast cells, are important in allergic responses and in asthma. I also have asthma, and I have been having an allergic reaction to all of the wildfire smoke that we've been getting from Canada, so thank you, Canada, for that. So this being out of range is not surprising whatsoever, and it really doesn't make me think anything bad is going on or that I'm nearing a flare-up, because all of my other white blood cells are completely in range. So nothing too scary there. Let's now move on to the fun ones, the ones probably most of you care about. Hormones. Estradiol ultrasensitive LCMS. So LCMS stands for liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry. I'm an idiot. Essentially what this means is it's a very accurate fucking test. Now, estradiol, or short for E2, is the main form of estrogen in men. And ultra-sensitive is important here. If someone was using some specific steroid, such as Tren, which is, memed to death, there are metabolites created through the absorption and breakdown of that hormone that act similar to estrogen, specifically a methylated version of it. If you took a regular estradiol test, it would not come up because it isn't estrogen, it's methyl estradiol. So an ultra-sensitive will pick up these different metabolites that seem to act in that way. Now, the reference range, the higher end is 29, and I was at a 31. Now, you see red, that may seem bad. It's so close to the reference range, it's really not a big deal. A lot of people vary. There's tons of variance here for what is good or bad, or when some people experience side effects from high E2. I have none. Now, I did have pubertal gynecomastia, and this could be somewhat related. Unfortunately, the blood work that I had way back when I was like 14 is lost to time. Maybe I should request that, actually. It may be interesting. But for the most part, this does not matter. This is not a big deal whatsoever. This is great. That's perfectly healthy. E2 is insanely cardioprotective, neuroprotective, anabolic. It's a great hormone to have more of, assuming you don't have side effects due to it being out of the reference range. Now, we see here testosterone total. Dun, 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 drum roll, please. 693 nanograms per deciliter. So we'll say 700, we'll fudge those numbers. Now, it's really important to remember that this is just a transient snapshot in time. Tons of things can alter this reading. If you drink alcohol, this can lower the reading. If you jerked off right before the test, this could lower the reading. If you got a bad night's sleep, like I do most nights, I get about 6 hours of sleep every single night, that can lower the results. If you trained really hard the week prior, that can lower the results. If you get the test a little bit later in the day, that'll lower the results. Tons of things can alter your testosterone reading. And this isn't the full picture because, once again, I didn't get my free testosterone tested. This is total. And it comes out to about 700 nanograms per deciliter. Now, I know it was probably 4 years ago now, I did get blood work done, and I was closer to 900. So just over, the long term, the age, I'm in my mid-20s now versus my early 20s, I have lost about 200 nanograms per deciliter, but purely transiently. Maybe some days I'm back up there, maybe other days I'm down to 400. Who's to really say? But this is a pretty high number. I know it says here that's 250 to 1100, but this is kind of different. Being in the 700s is about the 90th percentile of testosterone, meaning in a room of 100 people, only 10 people would have a higher testosterone rating than me. And 250 is what is now considered clinically hypogonadal or having clinically low testosterone, this number has continuously gotten lower. These ranges are not from a country deciding this is what we do. This is from Quest Diagnostics and the readings that they get. That is what this is based off of. And as men's testosterone has dropped over the years, this number has also only gotten lower. So you may have low testosterone side effects at say 400 nanograms per deciliter versus the 250. Now a natural being over 1000 is absolutely crazy. That would be insanely rare. So this reference range is very much skewed on both ends to being a little scuffed. So 700 nanograms per deciliter I am completely happy with. That is great. Now there is some weird stuff there. Obviously I'm a somewhat big guy. I'm a strong guy, I suppose. I have a pretty deep voice, but I have zero facial hair. Just because you have some male sex characteristics with a higher testosterone number does not mean you will have all of them. This just goes to show how weird and complex the body is. So moving on to the gonadotropins, which let me explain quickly. Essentially how your body produces testosterone is through the HPTA, or the hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis. Some people call it the HPGA, which replaced testicular with gonadal. Now your brain in your hypothalamus sends a signal to your pituitary to send out these gonadotropins, FSH and LH, or follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These two hormones then travel to your testes, your gonads, your nuts, and they go into your Leydig cells, which then tells your nuts to start producing testosterone, your HPTA axis. It's all just a chain of command going down. So when you have hypogonadism, or again, low testosterone, it could be for two reasons. It could be that the signal to your nuts is not getting sent or isn't that strong. That's known as secondary hypogonadism. Or it could be that your nuts are getting the message and then not producing it, typically because of something like a severe trauma that happened to them, so like a bad injury. That would be known as primary hypogonadism. So for the reference range here, 3.8 out of 1.6 and 8, I am perfect, pretty much right in the middle. And then my LH, I'm a little bit low, but if anything, that's a good thing. Hormone produced by the pituitary gland that stimulates the ovaries to produce eggs. It also controls the menstrual cycle during the menopause transition as estrogen levels decrease, FH levels increase. Why is this all about women? Now, LH is a luteinizing hormone. It's another sex hormone produced by the pituitary gland that helps to control the menstrual cycle. Why is this all about women? I don't have PCOS. Anyways, you get the point. Google it if you want to fucking know more, I guess. And guys, that is my blood work. The main takeaways being my lipids have improved significantly, even though I've gained weight, which is awesome, but I have to work harder to figure out how to raise my HDL. It's probably just going to result in me eating a better diet. Some of my white blood cells are high, but that's more than likely to do with the Canadian wildfires giving me an allergic reaction, as well as just having an autoimmune disorder in general. My livers and kidneys are performing great, which is awesome since I was on Accutane, a very harsh medication, so I seem to have no lasting impact from that. And my hormones are awesome. I have a higher end testosterone, and my gonads are getting all the messages they need from my pituitary, and I am scheduling a complete thyroid panel and free testosterone and SHBG check just to see exactly what I'm working with, and that will pretty much be the most comprehensive thing. I may decide to get some more vitamins and minerals tested, but I don't know if I really see the point in that. Maybe when I'm cutting, just to see if my diet is actually good enough for all the things my body requires. If you like this style of content, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure you share this to a buddy, make sure you leave me a comment, let me know how your testosterone's higher and how I'm a whiny little baby. If you really like this content, you can follow all of these socials. The links will be down in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Oh, and make sure you check out the description for all of the links to private med labs, to Quest Diagnostics, and to the Steroids Wiki if you want to use their code in order to get, I think it's 15% off. You get all the blood work done that I had done for only $100. It is definitely worth it, even if it's something you only do, say, once a year, or maybe if you vastly have changed your diet or your body composition. It's just great to do. Really keep up on your health. You're going to deal with yourself, the rest of yourself being around. So fucking take care of it and know what you're working with.